Hello everybody. You may be wondering what video I am doing right now, and with the closure of the Cut Scream compilation series that I had on my YouTube channel, I thought to myself, what if I could begin another new series of making Sol's RNG videos instead of making the generic AFK videos or other videos about Sol's RNG? Why not make a new series called Everything You Need to Know About, where I pick random aspects of Sol's RNG, go onto the Sol's RNG wiki, and describe everything in detail while showing gameplay of the said aspect. And for the first episode, I chose Impeached. So here's everything you need to know about Impeached. Impeached is the 72nd aura listed in the collection as of the winter update in Sol's RNG. It is a global aura, or glorious as the game calls it, with a rarity of 1 in 200 million, or its native rarity being 1 in 40 million through the corruption biome. The description for Impeached reads, Violet, the color symbolizing royalty. Emperor is one that illuminated the world, one that was the greatest leader ever, and one that architected its own downfall. What was left for this fallen ruler? Impeached is a royal aura with a theme of royalty, primarily a color of purple and violet. It shares appearances with other auras such as Harvester, Oblivion, and Exotic Apex. The player is seen bobbing up and down above the ground, with their right arm in their face and their left arm slumped downward. The player is impaled with a smaller scale of the sword used in Impeached's ability, and there's black smog between the puncture entry and exit of the sword. The player's torso is also surrounded by a long, singular black chain, equal to the color of the sword. Surrounding the player are 3 orbs, with each a unique design. The outer layer of the orb is black fuzzy, while the inner circle is violet with a bright white light shining. A vortex-like effect occurs in the outer layer with a mixed black and violet color. The larger orb behind the player, around 5 to 7 meters back, 3 to 5 meters ascended above the ground. The larger orb shares a similar appearance to the smaller orbs, but with a spiky black effect and a bright starlight shining. It also has an appearance similar to Exotic Apex with purple, black, and violet rays constantly releasing. Crackles of electricity in large blacks and violets spark around constantly, and tiny sparkling effects in violet slowly appear and flash as they move downward. The player floats with a slumped body, covering their face with their right hand and their left hand left dangling. The left leg slightly goes outwards as their right leg is left stationary and moves up and down at a slow pace. Impeached has an ability that raises the player's right hand while releasing purple particles that disappear right after a quarter of a second and spawns a large 8-pointed star on the ground to mark where the giant black sword will fall. After a few seconds, the sword descends and creates a shockwave, spreading a crack and releasing purple and black lightning on the floor of the aura along the sword with a sigil like the one in the aura itself manifests around the sword. This ability deals 30 damage and has a cooldown of 30 seconds and a windup of 1.75 to 1.6 seconds. The move can hit up to 15 studs behind the user and 95 studs in front of the user, or just 55 studs away from the sword in every direction. As of the winter update in Sol's RNG, a quick jingle plays as a purple star appears in the middle, accompanied by a hoarse wind noise that plays throughout the cutscene. A purple swirl effect appears behind the star, along with patterns moving from the left to the right of the screen. Multiple small black squares with purple outlines flash rapidly around the screen together, with purple particles rising from the bottom of the screen, as well as purple fog rotating around the star. An intact crown pulses once behind the star, and then pulses again, this time slashed at an angle from top right to bottom left. A sword falls from the top middle of the screen, leaving behind a trail, revealing Impeached. Impeached was the first aura added with a rarity of over 1 in 100 million, making it the oldest global in the game. This aura currently has the 13th highest displayed rarity. Impeached got a cutscene rework in Eon 1. Impeached uses the font Sarpanch, which many other auras use. For example, Gargantua, Abyssal Hunter, Shard Surfer, Exotic Apex, and Bounded use this font. The first player to obtain Impeached was Marcol 2008. Impeached's name in the opening animation, in collection, and in storage has every letter except I in lowercase, deferring what is shown in the aura in-game name looking like this. Impeached's bigger orb used to move, but for an unknown reason, it no longer moves to a bug. It has not been fixed after several updates. However, later on, it turned out that the orb does move, but it's very slow and subtle that it's hardly noticeable. A way to tell is if you place the camera on a still position and wait after 10 to 15 seconds, you might see it at a different place little by little. The speed of the 3 orbiting orbs used to increase according to a player's frame rate. The orbs were later made to not be affected by frame rate at an unknown date. Impeached is 1 in 7 global auras that have a native biome. The other auras to have a native biome is Starscourge Radiant and Gargantua in Starfall, Abyssal Hunter in Rainy, Atlas in Sandstorm, Bloodlust in Hell, and Oppression in Glitched. The Era 7 update has made Impeached easier to obtain, with a chance of 1 in 40 million when the Corruption biome is active. Impeached was first added in Era 4. The definition of Impeached means casting doubt on someone's credibility or validity. In terms of a political perspective, it is charging someone, mostly a leader, who acted with misconduct. However, the political definition does not define what Impeached aura is. It has been confirmed that Impeached and Sovereign have some form of correlation, as they are both royalties, but they are both different ranks. Impeached features a giant ball above the player, which is similar to Oblivion, Sovereign, Exotic Apex, and Abomination. Impeached's opening animation still shows the special effects, even if rolled in Corruption or Glitched as 1 in 40 million. This is unlike other auras, such as Undead, completely changing their opening animation. What they mean by this is, if you were to roll Undead Devil without being in the Hell biome, you would see the opening animation and then seeing the screen cracking. However, if you rolled Undead Devil in the Hell biome, then there would be no screen cracking. This feature is also shared with Bloodlust, Atlas, Gargantua, and Starscourge Radiant, as their native rarities are under 100 million. Impeached is one of the few auras to have a possible rework in the upcoming updates. Impeached is considered a classic global aura from the community because it was the very first global aura to be added to the game. Impeached is one of the many auras to wield an item, which is a black sword that is impaled in the user's torso and utilized in the ability. The idle animation for Impeached is similar to the idle animation of Exotic Apex. It is unknown whether if Oblivion and Memory have some sort of connection to Impeached's downfall, though the description said that Impeached made their own downfall. The sword impaled on the player might help in making the connection more visible, since the impaled sword looks kinda similar to Memory's sword in my opinion. Impeached is the 4th highest global aura that has a native rarity below 99 million plus, the first being Atlas, the second being Bloodlust, the third being Gargantua, and the 5th being Starscourge Radiant. There is currently a bug which if you play the ability animation, it shows Zeus's animation. Occasionally, sometimes, it also does not spawn the sword in effects, but it still does damage. For some reason, it is harder to collect Lucky Clovers with Impeached due to the idle animation where your character is slowly bobbing up and down. However, auras like Sailor have no problem like this, since even though your character is not drowned, their player model is a sailor's boat. There's a theory going on where Impeached was actually Sovereign after the assassination of Oblivion, which stated in Sovereign's description. However, it has a chance of being false since Oblivion's sword and the one impaled through Impeached do not appear similar. However, the developer aura Monarch could be a fallen version of Sovereign as well, due to it having a sealed theme and being corrupted, which is what states in the Sovereign's description. In summary, this aura is well respected by the many players of Sol RNG since it's the oldest global aura to ever exist. However, a lot of the community thinks that Impeached should be one of the main priorities of getting a rework, since it is a year old since Impeached has been added.